Looking inside cells. How do parts of a cell work? How do cells work together in an organism? My Planet Diary. Glowing globs. Do these cells look as if they're glowing? This photograph shows cells that have been stained with dyes that make cell structures easier to see. Scientists view these treated cells through a fluorescent microscope, which uses strong light to activate the dyes and make them glow. Here, each green area is a cell's nucleus, or control center. Yellow fibers form a kind of support structure of the cell. All right, so how do parts of a cell work? When you look at a cell through a microscope, you can usually see the outer edge of the cell. Sometimes you can also see smaller structures within the cell. Each kind of cell structure has a different function within a cell. In this lesson, you will read about the structures that plant and animal cells have in common. You also read about the same difference or some differences between the cells. So here we go, parts of the cell and how they work. Cell wall. The cell wall is a rigid layer that surrounds the cells of plants and some other organisms. The cells of animals, in contrast, do not have cell walls. Animal cells do not have cell walls. Plants and some other organisms do. A plant cell wall helps protect and support the cell. The cell wall is made mostly of a strong material called cellulose. Still, many materials, including water and oxygen, can pass through the cell wall easily. The cell wall is what gives it that rectangular-like structure. Makes it very rigid. Cell membrane. Think about how a window screen allows air to enter and leave a room, but keep insects out. One of the functions of the cell membrane is something like that of a screen. The cell membrane controls which substances pass into and out of a cell. Everything a cell needs, such as food particles, water, and oxygen, enters through the cell membrane. Waste products leave the same way. In addition, the cell membrane prevents harmful material from entering the cell. All cells have cell membranes. In plant cells, the cell membrane is just inside the cell wall. In cells without cell walls, the cell membrane forms the border between the cell and its environment. Nucleus. A cell doesn't have a brain, but it has something that functions in a similar way. A large oval structure called the nucleus acts like as the cell's control center, directing all the cell's activities. The nucleus is the largest of many tiny cell structures called organelles that carry out specific functions within a cell. Notice in Figure 2 that the nucleus is surrounded by a membrane called the nuclear envelope. Materials pass in and out of the nucleus through the pores in the nuclear envelope. Chromatin. You may have wondered how the nucleus knows how to direct the cell. Chromatin, thin strands of material that fill the nucleus, contains information for directing a cell's function. For example, the instructions in the chromatin ensure the leaf cells grow and divide to form more leaf cells. Nucleus. Notice the small round structure in the nucleus? This structure, the nucleus, is where the ribosomes are made. Ribosomes are small, grain-shaped organelles that produce proteins. Proteins are important substances in cells. So here you go. Here's a picture of mitochondria. You have the nucleus. It's an actual picture here. Nucleus. You have the nucleus in the center of the nucleus, cytoplasm, floating around here. Chromatin. Here's the nuclear envelope and the pores. Organelles in the cytoplasm. Most of a cell consists of a thick, clear, gel-like fluid. The cytoplasm fills the region between the cell membrane and the nucleus. The fluid of the cytoplasm moves constantly within a cell, carrying along the nucleus and other organelles that have specific jobs. Mitochondria. Floating in the cytoplasm are rod-shaped structures that are nicknamed the powerhouses of a cell. Look again at Figure 2. Mitochondria convert energy stored in food to energy the cell can use to live and function. Endoplasmic reticulum and ribosomes. In Figure 2, you can see what looks like a maze of passageways. The endoplasmic reticulum, often called the ER, is an organelle with a network of membranes that produce many substances. Ribosomes dot some parts of the ER while other ribosomes float into cytoplasm. The ER helps the attached ribosomes make proteins. These newly made proteins and other substances leave the ER and move into another organelle. So here we go. Ribosomes. This is called rough ER. There is also called smooth ER, and that's ER that doesn't have ribosomes attached to it. These little dots here are ribosomes, and this is called the endoplasmic reticulum, or ER for short. Okay, we're going to skip through this page here. But here you can see the different parts of the cell. Cytoplasm, the gel-like fluid that's made of the cell. Here is the Golgi apparatus, the cell membrane. You have the cell wall, because this is a plant cell. Endoplasmic reticulum, nucleus. There are the green chloroplasts. Sunlight hits these little rod or these little disc shapes, and that through photosynthesis produces sugar or food for the cell. And here's the mitochondria. Plant or animal cell, very similar. Some differences: no cell wall, and animal cells don't have chloroplast. So here you have mitochondria, you have the ribosomes, the ER, rough ER, because you have the ribosomes attached. Cytoplasm. You have the Golgi apparatus. Here's the cell membrane. Here's some lysosomes. Golgi apparatus. As proteins, and this is the Golgi apparatus, as proteins leave the endoplasmic reticulum, they move to a structure that looks like the flattened sacs and tubes shown in Figure 4. This structure can be thought of as a cell's warehouse. The Golgi apparatus receives proteins and other newly formed material from the ER, packages them, and distributes them to other parts of the cell or to the outside of the cell. Vacuoles. Plant cells often have one or more large, water-filled sacs floating in the cytoplasm. This type of sac, called a vacuole, stores water, food, or other materials needed by the cell. Vacuoles can also store waste products until the waste are removed. Some animals do not have vacuoles, while others do. We'll come back to this. This is a good analogy here. Chloroplast. Recall from Figure 3 that a typical plant cell contains green structures called chloroplast in the cytoplasm. Chloroplasts capture energy from the sunlight and changes it to a form of energy that the cells can use in making food. Animal cells don't have chloroplasts, but the cells of plants and some organisms do. Chloroplasts make leaves green because the leaf cells contain many chloroplasts. Lysosomes. Look again at the animal cell in Figure 3. Notice the sac-like organelles called lysosomes, which contain substances that break down large food particles into smaller ones. Lysosomes also break down old cell parts and release the substances so they can be used again. You can think of lysosomes as a cell's recycling center. There we go. There's a microscopic view of chloroplast drawing. All right, how do cells work together in an organism? And a lot of this, boys and girls, is be kind of reviewed from the BodyWorks unit. Plants and animals, including you, are multicellular, which means made of many cells. Single-celled organisms are called unicellular. In a multicellular organism, the cells often look quite different from one another. They also perform different functions. Specialized cells. All cells in a multicellular organism must carry out key functions such as getting oxygen to remain alive. However, cells also may be specialized. That is, they perform specific functions that benefit the entire organism. These specialized cells share what can be called as a division of labor. One type of cell does one kind of job, while other cells do other jobs. For example, red blood cells carry oxygen to other cells that may be busy digesting your food. Just as specialized cells differ in function, they also differ in structure. Figure, figure 6 shows specialized cells from plants and animals. Each type of cell has a distinct shape. For example, a nerve cell has a thin, finger-like extension that reaches towards other cells. These structures help nerve cells transmit information from one part of your body to another. The nerve cell's shape would be helpful to a red blood cell. Here you see different types of specialized cells. We'll go over this later. You've seen this before, right? Cells make up tissues, make up organs, organ systems, organism. Talked about that before. Talk about it a little bit more here. Cells working together. A division of labor occurs among specialized cells in an organism. It also occurs at other levels of organization. In multicellular organisms, cells are organized into tissues, organs, and organ systems. A tissue is a group of similar cells that work together to perform a specific function. For example, your brain is made mostly of nerve tissue, which consists of nerve cells that relay information to other parts of your body. An organ, such as your brain, is made of different kinds of tissues that function together. For example, the brain also has blood vessels that carry the blood that supplies oxygen to your brain cells. Your brain is part of your nervous system, which directs body activities and processes. An organ system is a group of organs that work together to perform a major function. As Figure 7 shows, the level of organization in an organism becomes more complex from cell to tissue to organ system. That is all stuff that we talked about in the last unit. All right, that's it for looking in cells. Now, all these different organelles we talk about here, you will have to be able to identify them in both a plant and animal cell and their function, what they do. So the earlier you start to study this, the easier it will be come test time. All right, boys and girls, have a great rest of your day.